Everyone, it's Lori and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to introduce you to the artist that you may or may not know about. His name is Pep Ventosa, and Pep is known for his technique of shooting in the round and editing his images to create these gorgeous impressionistic looks. So I learned about this artist, photographer, several years ago and started studying the way that he shoots his images as well as his editing process. And I want to share that with you today. I love to create images that look very impressionistic and just like a painting, and his images are so unique and special. So today I'm going to show you my method for editing and capturing his images that are similar to his trees in the round. So his collection of tree images are shot where you take a shot every few steps as you walk around the subject. And he shoots 100 or more. I started with anywhere from 50 to 20. And in this example that I'm going to give you today, I only have about 14 shots. So you don't have to do as many, but you can see just all the gorgeous texture and detail that he brings out in his images. Now, as I studied his tree images, he keeps most of the ghosting of everything around the subject, but he does bring out the details in the trunks, which still makes it, you know it's a tree and it doesn't look kind of distorted and weird. So that's what we're going to do today. He also has this collection of lamppost urban sculptures, and very similar, keeps most of the subject intact, and then you've got all this ghosting, just layers and layers of what's kind of happening around the scene. So it's just beautiful, beautiful images. So let's jump over to Lightroom first. And I have got, this was the final image that I put together. And the one we do today probably won't look exactly the same because we're going to start from scratch. But I wanted to show you the end result that I had. So I shot these images of this little tree and I chose it. It had beautiful color. I could get all the way around the tree, and with my camera's focal distance, I was able to get the entire tree. So if you shoot a really large tree, you've got to have a lot of space to be able to get back far enough to capture all of it as you walk around. So you'll notice as I go through these images, I was shooting as I walked, kind of just going around the tree. There's a different view. And I took images every probably couple feet just to get different viewpoints of the tree. So this is where you have a choice to make. You can make tiny steps and take lots of images, or you can go a little larger and only take a few. And then you do need a tool to layer these images together. So to put all of these images together that I have from this photo shoot, what you're going to do is select your images, and I am going to, so you just highlight with your shift key, select them, and then here's the trick. You want to right click and do edit in and open as layers in Photoshop if you're using Photoshop. If you're using Photopea or some other layers program, then you can of course export your images and open them in that program. So you want to open as layers. So let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. I went ahead and brought these images in because it can sometimes take a while to load. All right, so I've got these images now, and they are in order from the first one that I shot, which ends in number 2, all the way up to, I think, number 66. So that's great because we've got our first image all the way up to our last. Now, if your stack of images imports in a reverse order, all you have to do is hold your shift key and highlight your whole row of your stack of images. And then you want to come over to Layer, Arrange, and you can reverse. So if it loads in reverse order, you can always flip it. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to hold down the Option key and hide, or hide all of the other layers, and we just have our bottom layer visible. And I'm going to click on that one. So now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start layering these other images on top of our first. So I'm going to go to the first image and view that. And what I'm going to do now is change the opacity of this layer, and I'm going to start around 60%. Now, one thing that I noticed right away is this first image is I was closer to it than I am with the second image. And I think the rest of my images were more in scale to this one. So I'm actually not going to use this first image. I'm going to go ahead and not use it in my stack. And so for this next image, I'm going to keep it at 100%. And we're going to move to my third image. And for that image, I'm going to go ahead and reduce the opacity to about 60%. Now you can immediately see some of the texturing that's happening and the shadows. So I'm going to select my move tool, and I'm just going to line up these images. And one way that I can do that is using the tree trunks of the existing tree and also the trees around it. So I'm going to try to line it up with this tree. Now you could use the auto align feature in Photoshop, but I prefer to hand do it so that I can really customize the image. Now I'm going to take the opacity up just so I can see and make sure of my tree trunk and everything around it. So I'm liking that. I'm going to lower it to about 60. And this is where you can also change your blend mode. So we're going to play with different blend modes as we go through the image. So we can select soft light. You can see that that's kind of darkening it. Hard light's going to be really dark. Multiply is one that I like, but I don't think I'm quite ready for multiply yet. So we've also got overlay can work, which I think is nice for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do overlay, and we're going to leave it at 60%. So now we're going to click on our next layer. We're going to go to that one and again, reduce our opacity. And for this one, I'm going to just drop it even more below 60%, closer to that 50 mark. Now I still have on my move tool, so I can just kind of move this image around to see how it lines up. And let's go ahead and take the opacity up a little bit, or actually down. And I want to move this guy around and make sure that he's matching up. And so let's go ahead and move it over. I think that's matching pretty good. I just want to check the height. Okay, let's see how that is. I'm going to take it back up. And for this one, let's go ahead and try a different blend mode. We're going to try soft light. Hard light's a little dark. Multiply's a little dark. So I think for this one, actually lighten. I kind of like that to bring in some lighter tones. We could also try screen. Overlay's a little dark as well. So let's go ahead and do lighten on this one. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just keep going. So with every new tree overlay, we are going to go ahead and follow the same process. So I'm going to reduce this one down to about maybe 45%. Now I can see some ghosting here, and that's okay. What I want to do though is make sure that I have the tree lined up. And so we're just going to come over with that tree trunk and make sure we get it right in place. And we can take that opacity kind of up to see where it is. And I'm just going to make sure it's kind of lined up right there. Now, I'm not worried about the ghosting on the other sides. I am going to crop this image eventually. So I'm not worried about that at this point. Let's go ahead and reduce the opacity a little bit more. And now I'm going to try a different blend mode. I think hard light's kind of nice. Soft light's probably what I'm wanting to go for now, just to bring in some of that other texture and color. We're just kind of playing with where that line is. Now, for this one, if you want to get rid of that ghosting, we can go ahead and add a layer mask, go to our brush, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit larger using my bracket key. I'm just going to clean that up right there. All right, now let's go to the next layer. And this one is a different perspective for sure. So now I'm going to change that opacity. I'm going to go down to that kind of 30% range. And we can see that we're getting now a lot of detail here in our tree. I'm just going to, again, make sure I've got that stack where I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and change the blend mode. Let's try a darker one. Liking that. That's nice. And I'm going to go ahead and add the mask. And again, grab our brush. There's just a little bit of that kind of ghosting right there. And I'm going to make sure that around the trunk is kind of cleaned up. I'm not too much worried about this area because I am going to crop it, but I'm just going to clean that up while I'm here. All right. And for the opacity on that, let's take it down just a little bit more, maybe about, 30%. Okay, now we'll click the next layer. And we're just doing the same thing, but with each image, we're going to go a little bit lower. And that's just going to give us some neat effects as we work on merging all of these images together. So for this one, I think that matches pretty good. We've got some different ghosting around. Let's go ahead and try some different blend modes. There's lighten. I really like that. It's bringing out some different textures in our tree. So I'm going to stick with that. But for this image, we definitely need to add our mask. And I want to clean it up because I do really want the focus of this image to just be the tree. And so I'm going to come in and just clean up around it so that the tree is definitely our focus. Maybe even down here at the bottom. All right, so it looks like I need to move this a little. Yeah, get that trunk lined up. That's much better. All right, so now we'll go to the next layer. And this is a different view. We're going to go ahead and take that opacity down close to maybe around 30%. And again, I'm going to try the different overlays. There's multiply. Screen is really nice. Again, I'm wanting to add some brightness. So I'm going to do the screen. And I am going to add a mask again. Come in with the brush. Maybe just clean up a little bit. Right around that edge just a little bit. Okay, really like what it's doing over here in the trees, so that's looking really nice. So we'll do our next one. This is a different view, and we'll take that one down maybe about 10%. Now we can see we need to move this trunk for sure, so I am just going to slide it over till it's right on top, and I kind of like that one just the way it is, so we're going to leave that. We'll go to our next one. This has got some detail on this side, which we're definitely needing in our image. So for this one, I'm going to only go about 50%. And what I want to do is I've got my move tool. I want to move it over what we had. And actually, let's take that opacity down even more. I just want to bring out this side detail. So I think what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to grab the mask and grab our brush. I'm going to make it larger. And what I want to do is just bring back everything in that original tree except what was added right here. And it is a little bit big, so I'm just going to come around and kind of clean that up just a little bit. I just want to add a little bit of that detail that this layer brought. And you can flip it if you want to bring some of it back. Okay, now we're going to add this layer. This is the same as, very similar to the other one. So I'm not sure I'm going to use this image since we already layered it. So let's save that one. We're going to go ahead and go to this next one, which is also the same view. Let's go ahead and add it and see what happens. I'm going to lower the opacity, and we can see we need to grab our move tool and plop it on top. And that's not bad. It's giving some fullness. Let's try some different blend modes. There's soft light, which actually probably works the best, so I will use that one. Now we'll go to this next image, which is more fullness on this side of the tree. I'm going to go ahead and on this layer, reduce that opacity down, maybe about 12%. And let's try a different blend mode. We've got hard light, soft light. Use the hard light this time. Now let's grab our move and make sure that we've got this tree lined up. And then look and see if there's anything that we want to mask. I'm not worried about the other details there, so we're going to leave that. And we've just got 2 more. So this is kind of that front shot again. It's pretty full of this tree, but we've got these branches. I'm not sure I'm going to use that one. And then we've got this last one. So this is a nice one to finish with. Let's go ahead and take it down to about 50, 40%. We want to line it up. So I'm just going to move that over. And let's try some different blend modes. Screen might be just the ticket. And then I'm going to grab the brush again, flip it to black. And I want to just get rid of this stuff that's a little bit distracting. Yeah, and just come in. And we've got that nice final layer. So you can see this before and after, really brightening it. So at this point, we've used almost all the layers. There were 2 images that were very similar, and I just didn't feel like we needed them. So I am happy with the way the stack is now. So at this point, you could make final tweaks and adjustments. What we can do is do Command, Option, Shift, and the letter E. That is going to give us a stamped layer. And from here, I can go ahead and do my crop. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to crop this pretty tight just to focus on our little tree. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit. And at this point, you could decide if you wanted to get rid of kind of this ghosting over here. There's a couple ways that you could do that. We could just use the clone tool. And if we come over to the clone tool, we can grab some of this foliage and just kind of put it over this tree trunk and bring this in, and then grab this grass and just kind of bring that in to clone that out. And same thing over here. We can just kind of come around and clone that so that really all you're seeing is this, just beautiful display of a tree. Come in and kind of do that. So I like to do the clone because then it's really just focused on this tree and the detail, since the surrounding area was not as beautiful as some of the images that Pep did. So the best thing that I can tell you about editing with these images is to go through your stack, change your opacity, try different blend modes, see what you like. You can use a mask if needed. Just play around. You may use all your layers, you may not. It really just depends. And be sure you're kind of altering or moving the image around as you need to. So I hope you found some inspiration today in learning about Pep and looking at some of his work. It's a fun technique to shoot with, and then it does take some time to edit, but I think it's well worth it. Just a really beautiful impressionistic look. So have fun and enjoy exploring the beauty of Pep Ventosa's photography. Thanks, everybody.